What's the kind of operations look like? Do you have a prep center? Do you prep yourself? Tell me about that.
Okay, so in terms of just on the Amazon business, I've got one sourcing VA who purely sources wholesale. So I strike up a relationship with a supplier, I analyze initially what they're selling, etc., and then I hand them over. So they tend to have a number of suppliers that they get the daily spreadsheets from, daily offers, daily deals, and they will actually look over them, and then they'll make a decision on what we're going to purchase. That person doesn't actually make the bank transfers or spend the money on the card. I do all that still, but they're the ones saying this is a good deal, this is how many we want to purchase. So they're kind of like a purchasing manager, but without the entering the bank details, so that's a full-time person, and they don't have deal targets. At the end of the day, it's my relationships that they're working from, so they can only kind of work off what I've got. Prep center wise, yeah, we do have a prep center. I won't mention who it is because I don't think they need extra business at all. They're really great, they are, because they actually store stock for me as well, rather than focus on lot prep centers say, oh, it needs to go straight out as soon as it comes in, because obviously their space is money. But this prep center, they let me store items on pallets, and they charge me a monthly fee per unit, which is quite good. They also fulfill FBM orders for me if I've got some larger items I don't want to send into Amazon, which is really good of them. And if I want to move into like the seller fulfill prime side of things, and I don't want to get my own warehouse, then they will offer that service as well. So it's really important as you scale to have a really strong relationship with any 3PL solutions that you got, like a prep center, in my opinion. Could go down the warehouse route, but it's a lifestyle decision, I think.
Why? Tell me that. Obviously we talked about this off camera, but why are you not? Because everyone who does wholesale is like, man, you need a warehouse because obviously it's more efficient. I understand that, but why are you not? So you're doing $1 million without a warehouse, a prep center. People are saying, don't do it. It's really bad. You're going to lose all your money. But why are you not?
I did run the numbers, Tom. I went to see a couple of units that were available for lease, long-term lease, and I looked at the costs, the business rates, etc., ploughed it all into spreadsheets, and the benefit I found was quite minimal at my level. I think when I'm pushing towards 2 million, 3 million, it might work out more beneficial. So the employee's wages you're going to need to do the prep for you, for example. Obviously, we're paying UK wages and not Filipino or Pakistani wages here. So that's going to take up a big monthly cost. When I feel like I have enough units going out each day for one person to do full time, it'd probably make more sense. But I don't think that'd be the case right now. So it'd probably be a part-time wage. And it's the other thing, like if for the savings that there were, what impact does it have on my life negatively, having my own warehouse facility and a liability there? I'm going to have to be there most days. I'm going to have to be worrying about security. I'm going to be worrying about actually checking in and receiving all deliveries. It's something I don't really want right now. I want the flexibility to say, okay, if I want to go away for 2 days, 3 days somewhere in Europe or in the UK, I can take my laptop and my business continues working without me actually physically being in the UK. So yeah, at the minute, I'm not looking to outsource that. If there was huge savings right now, I would, but at the minute, I'm not looking to.
Yeah, I can really understand. I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people, and especially see it on like social media, it's like, I'm getting the warehouse and doing it. And I've even had conversations with people who've booked coaching calls with me in the fact that I've got this, they booked they kind of do what they call like a storage center, storage place. And when we do the calculations, we worked out they were just per unit shipped per month. They were paying more in storage fees in the storage center than they would have done if they shipped it to a prep center, and that's not including their own labor costs plus all the boxes and everything else. And it's like, oh my god! And then not only that, people talk to me about it, they're like, should I do EFN? Should I do eBay? And my kind of thoughts are like, your job is to make this business as simple as possible, and the more elements you have, like managing staff, prep center, or should I say warehouse, utility rates, break-ins, the guy hasn't turned up for work, he's not doing it to the right standard, he's a bit slacky, now I've got to find someone else, just more and more problems. And it's like, the reason why we use FBA, because it solves a massive problem. Exactly. And it's like, FBA is the same as like a prep center. It's just like, we give it to them. If someone's off sick or not standard, it's not our problem. We tell them to fix it, or we'll go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, we'll fix it. And it makes our lives so much easier. And we can do that with 2 emails. Wow. I think it's amazing the time we live in, why you do it, and then also tell us about your October results for last month.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult sometimes because, like you and like everybody else, if you feel like you're underachieving something, it gets to you. So to actually share that with everybody when you feel like you've underachieved and you've failed, and then you're sharing it with everybody else to see, it's very easy that you open yourself up then to more criticism. So you got to be prepared to take it. But as you know, I run a reselling group, and I offer wholesale mentoring as well. Like if I'm going to offer services that help other people do these things, I think I need to be fully transparent. I need to show everybody what I'm doing at all times. If people are going to buy into a service I'm offering, then they need to understand what I'm actually doing. Otherwise, I'm just, what am I? Am I a fraud? I don't know. Guess I am if I don't share the results. So you can't only share the good times, you've got to share the bad times. It's got to be a proper representation of who you are, in my opinion. So what I normally do is I set myself a monthly target, Tom, based on what my yearly target is. Break it down and set myself a monthly target, monthly ROI figure. Look, ROI becomes less and less important as you scale. It's about physical profit, but still, it's good to set a target so at least you're not a busy fool. If I hit those figures, I share what the figures were with the profit, with the ROI. If I don't hit those figures, I share what the figures are. And if I've underperformed, I'll explain why I think I've underperformed. And sometimes things look on screenshots like it's been a bad month. My October, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was about 120 grand turnover with 10 or 11 grand profit. That's including prep fees and Amazon fees, but the ROI was only about 16%. That raises a few eyebrows for people because they think, it's not worth getting out of bed for. It's not worth the effort you got to put in. But there's two things to pick up on that. Number one, the actual amount of time I physically need to spend working on this business every single day is decreasing every single week as I outsource tasks. So I said about the sourcing virtual assistant who looks after most of the suppliers. I've recently brought in an admin VA who helps out the other businesses that I run, but they also help out with a lot of tasks for the Amazon business. So they actually take off a lot of admin from me. Lots of things that just take time and don't really make money. So I could go 2 days without doing anything on the Amazon business, and then the next day I might spend 9 or 10 hours on it. But it doesn't, 16% is great for me. 10 grand profit's great for me for a business that I don't have to slog myself to death doing. And I've outsourced most of it. Some days I don't leave the house, which is a bit bad, but figures on a screen do not always give you the full story. And the second reason is why I think 16% isn't that bad sometimes. What you don't see from those sales is I'm actually just releasing cash all the time, and I want cash. Cash is king, as they say. We're deep into November recording this, and I need cash in order to buy more and more stock for December. I've got lots and lots of items that were bad online arbitrage buys back in the day that I've finally bit the bullet and cashed in on them. So they massively bring ROI down. That 16% is not a fair reflection of my whole business operations. That's a reflection of a 31-day period where you've taken huge losses, some huge wins, and it's balanced out around 16%. So in my eyes, it's been a good month. I put a big red cross saying I've not hit my target, but I've released lots of stock that could sit around for another year, and I've got money to now buy better deals with. So just take everything with a pinch of salt, I think, with things you see on Twitter. Everybody's results. Something that looks bad to you might be really good to them. Something that looks really good to you might not be so good to them. So yeah, just be open-minded about things, I think, which is, the best way to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think, from my side and anyone watching, thank you so much for sharing. And I think also, from my own reflection in my own journey, what I've seen is that there are times when we focus on growing the revenue, and there's times when we focus on clearing down stock, and there's times when maybe we focus on maximizing profitability. And all these are snapshots in time. They don't show the whole business picture. And it might be the case, my God, I look at my business sometimes, I'm like, okay, look, my ROI isn't that great. Yeah, we've made 10 grand profit. I'm like, I have generally worked 2 hours a week. I'm like, when you work it out per hour worked, you're like, the ROI is, the revenue or profit per hour worked is incredible. And then you get other people who are saying, it's a thing, and actually, if you work out your per hour worked, it's a completely different equation. And also, sometimes what we're trying to do, and I've done it in my business, is whereby we're trying to change our business slightly. So it might be the case that we're trying to move from one of good profitability to steady revenue to now drive the revenue, but we have to sacrifice profitability for a short term to just get our team used to buying enough, because they're a bit scared to spend more than £1,000 on a product. We now need to spend 5. And it's really interesting. And what's really interesting is that, one thing I really love about you and your journey and what you're doing is the fact that you talk about that and you put that big red X and you say where it is. But I think you're so right. You're talking about I love how you say and by the way, I talk about this in our own Amazon course, Seller Academy. I talk about the big goal. I talk about break it down into targets monthly and then action that. And you're doing that, and obviously you're saying, this month I've achieved it, this month I haven't. But by having that check-in, you're able to learn what's worked and also what's not. And I think also as well, it's amazing to be transparent. And I really value you because, yes, you are selling, information, courses, you've got your community, but also you're transparent with it. People know what they're going to get. You're not saying, I will make you a millionaire. You're actually like, no, this is my results, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to teach you this sustainable method of doing it. Not, I've sold some like dangerous goods or something which is a one-time wonder and you can't repeat this. You're building a business for the long term, and I love that. And a business that you can pack up and go travel to Barcelona whenever you want. So thank you for your should we say, honesty, and thank you for the clarity and giving people that chance to see into your business and see the stats and also the profitability and ROI. So thank you so much.
No worries. It's also worth considering is that those snapshots you see, that most of them don't include all business expenses. So someone who's doing 25% ROI, their bottom line when they take off staffing expenses and other things that they have may be a lot lower than somebody who's doing 15% ROI without many staff expenses. So just things to consider when you see all these screenshots. It's literally just a snapshot in time. It's not the full story, but transparency is good in my opinion.
And also as well, it's about you being honest with yourself. Like at the end of the day, if someone wants to say like, it doesn't really matter. If you're happy with your business, fantastic. And I think, congratulations, well done to you, and congratulations for what you've achieved, being transparent and honest with yourself. So fantastic.